is in nutshell the reason of the split and the result of the split. And this is perhaps what you never knew before, unless you have read the mention of it in encyclopedia. Is that correct?
Sorry?
This you had never known before?
No, I got it from, well, I got the question first. I was asked the question, then I carried out the research.
Thank you for pointing out.
I followed on the
Yes.
of
Now I have already instructed, you know, a small pamphlet should be written on the lines in which I have answered this question, documented of course, because by suddenly answering a question at random you don't remember all the references, etc. So a very small article which could be read in 20 minutes, let's say, or 15 minutes, should be written just giving the various facts in the same order as I have mentioned them, for the newcomers of course.
Is there a point
And the new generations also. They also need to be educated. Yes, please.
A point of clarification to him who is going to write the pamphlet, that I have to sing that just to give him the encyclopedia number and when it was published, so that can consult it and read it through it, then to also help to tackle the question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So when are you proposing to leave for Leningrad, is it?
Yeah.
It's planned?
Inshallah tomorrow. 9
Inshallah
o'clock.
tomorrow. Allah bless you and be with you. Help you. Yes, please.
This is in connection with the earlier question about Tahrik-e-Jadid. Now the lady has sent me this in writing.
Yes, please.
She has written that I have observed in connection with Tahrik-e-Jadid that a list is prepared of those people who contribute over and above a certain limit to be presented to Huzur for prayer. She has written, Huzur, I feel every person is entitled to this privilege, as sacrifice is a relative phenomenon.
I have already answered this question in the same spirit. I fully agree with that lady. But that list is also of some advantage to the community collectively, because it reminds people, and some people who can just reach that level just for the sake of drawing my particular attention to them in prayer, of course, they reach out, extend themselves to reach out that minimum threshold. So there is no harm. It has been continuing for some time traditionally. I will not discontinue this tradition. But as far as my personal attitude is concerned, I have already explained.
There is another question as well. Somebody has sent the question. In history, it is often minority to recognize the truth and follow the path of their prophet in the beginning.
Yes.
If the minority are more often right, why do you take majority opinion when making decisions in Jamaat?
Very interesting. Yes, you know, the majority of that minority is always right. This is what has been disclosed to us by Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This fact she left out from her computation. When a minority is right, it does not mean that a minority of that minority is always right. There is a fallacy in the question. Yes, please.
If I may be permitted to narrate a latifa in connection with the split that you have just discussed with you.
Yes.
When Chaudhry Zafar Khan Sahab, may Allah be pleased with him, was in England when Hazrat Khalifatul Masih was very sick. At that time, Khaja Kamaluddin Sahab was also in London, not as a representative.
When he was conjecturing about who should be the next Khalifa and who should not be. Is that the particular incident?
Yes, and the handicaps that
please continue, yes. A very interesting incident, yes.
Yes, Huzur, he said,
episode.
Are you the same as some of the others, like Maulana Muhammad Ali Sahib and others, that there should not be a Khalifa. And one argument that he gave was that he could not find a suitable person.
No, not like this. Yes, continue, please, let me see.
He said he could not find a suitable person who had the qualities really to lead the community.
That's right.
Then he started with Maulana Muhammad.
That's correct, yes.
Then Maulana Saduddin Sahib.
And how did he describe them? What were the shortcomings according to him which they possessed and which should not, which disqualify them from the office of Khilafat?
Well, in some, he said they were very soft and rather weak in administration.
Yes. For instance, he said about Muhammad Sahib that he is too weak.
Against some, he said,
and against Saduddin that he is too short-tempered or something. And then
his own defect.
His own, yes, what was that?
He said, my defect is that I always And then
so he said, I am also a great folly. I can't become the Khalifa because, I always say the truth. Can't help it. And Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahib says that unfortunately that was the only defect he did not have. And that allowed Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani was elected. He said Mirza Mahmud has also a defect, he is too young. So Hazrat Chaudhry Sahib retorted that as far as the other defects are concerned, they can't be rectified. But I think the defect of age will be rectified later on. He will grow old.
So may I be permitted to ask?
I'm sorry to steal your joke.
You narrated it much better than I did.
What else?
Huzur, it's the visit of the Iranian president to Pakistan, and according to the press reports, he had an excellent reception. This puzzles me a little. The background is, as far as I can see, that the Shia community in Pakistan, after what has happened to us in the last year and a half, are very apprehensive. The President of Pakistan, on more than one occasion, was snubbed by the authorities in Tehran. The government of Pakistan is so...
Well, I know the dilemma which is bothering you.
Yes, sir.
But I know what is happening in fact. But is it the right forum to discuss this politics?
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I know, I can explain later on. Yes, please.
I have two questions. The first question is actually from a few sources, and I tried to find that there was a context was different, but the question leads to the same phenomenon. The Christians, when we were discussing about Islam and so on, they asked that why is it that the Messiah which was to come had come in India while there is a greater need, according to ourselves and because of the evils in the social, in these Western countries, why should he be imposed upon and you people come over here and tell us the good things which the Messiah has been preaching and so on. While our cultures...
What was your answer?
Hazur, I actually took up the view that it was the universality of the...
No, you should have pointed out that the same dilemma occurred for the first time when the first Messiah came.
Yes, Hazur, I went into that as well in detail.
Judea was held in relationship to Rome in the same ratio of advancement and backwardness. And extent of crime or lack of crime, everything. And in fact, the Roman Empire stood to be a very awe-inspiring, one of the greatest empires that ever were in the world. And it covered almost half the world. And the same was the state of the British Empire at the time when the second Messiah came.